Thank you so much for coming here today. My name is Tony Coder, and I'm the Executive Director of the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation. And I'm so honored to be here in Franklin County to launch Ohio's first statewide campaign around lethal means safety in an effort to reduce suicide. All of the folks gathered up here today are from all walks of life. But we all have one common goal, and that's to take the debate and the politics out of around firearms and instead focus on saving lives. And this is what is different and so special about this campaign, that no matter where you fall on the firearm issue, we're all intent on preventing suicide. Whether you're a veteran, a hunter, a collector, a law enforcement, a mental health clinician, a mental health board, or from a suicide prevention coalition, loss survivors, every walk of life, we're all coming to the table today to focus on working together to make sure that we put all differences aside and instead we focus on one common goal: to prevent suicides. I was at a conference last week in Chicago, and researchers from Johns Hopkins University gave an interesting statistic that 71% of suicide survivors will take 5 minutes to 60 minutes to go from making their decision to complete suicide to actually completing it. You have 5 minutes to 60 minutes to that really we can make that difference to saving a life. If we just utilize any action to delay that decision, we can literally change the trajectory and save lives. Literally, just by doing something like storing a firearm in a gun safe, using a gun lock, separating ammunition from a firearm, or by having a trusted friend store ammunition until a crisis passes. You know, these are all things that have been taught by firearm retailers and owners for generations. Daniel will talk a little bit about that, and this is what we all agree on. And as you will hear from folks again all across the spectrum, they're partnering with the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation and community partners to curb firearm suicide. And again, I'm really excited that we are putting politics. We're leaving politics at the door and instead coming together to save lives. With that, I would like to introduce our first partner. Where is she? There you are. Dr. Anahi Ortiz, the Franklin County Coroner. Dr. Ortiz.
Thank you. Did you know that between 2020 and 2021, here in Franklin County, we saw about a 6% increase in suicides? About 50%, close to 50% of those suicides were due to firearms. In 2020, a 14-year-old, and in 2021, a 13-year-old. Those were the two youngest who died by suicide in Franklin County through the use of firearms. So two really big questions come to mind, especially in my mind when I saw that. One, why? Right? Why? Why is this happening? Why a 13-year-old? Why a 14-year-old? Well, that question is being tackled by many people. Medical professionals, organizations, scientists, and I think we've come a bit of a way towards finding some answers. We need to know the why in order to get to the prevention piece, and people are constantly working in that area. Second question is how? How does a 13-year-old, how does a 14-year-old get access to firearms? Well, that question has been a difficult one. That whole firearms question area has been a really difficult one to tackle. There's strong feelings on sides about this, but I really have to congratulate the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation for tackling this topic this area in really an area in a harm reduction approach. They are taking the principles of harm reduction to look at the arena of firearms in suicide prevention. With that, I'll leave you to the next speaker. But again, I admire and I say kudos to the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation for their work in this area.
Thank you, Dr. Ortiz. It is my privilege to also bring up from The Ohio State University and the STRIVE program, Dr. Justin Baker.
Thank you so much for having me here today. So I'm coming here today as a U.S. Navy veteran, as well as a clinical psychologist and the clinical director of the STRIVE program. The STRIVE program stands for Suicide Trauma Reduction Initiative. It's a research lab and treatment center that we have stood up at OSU to provide clinical intervention for suicide and post-traumatic stress disorder for veterans, first responders, and their family members. In addition, kind of more specific for today, we have pioneered treatments, mean safety counseling treatments, on how to have that discussion around firearm safety. It can be a very politically charged conversation, but we have done this over and over again with veterans and first responders, all from a vantage point of safety. Safety for the individual who's coming in for counseling, as well as for the family members. The difficult thing, right, so veterans unfortunately outpace their civilian counterparts when it comes to suicide. And by and large, active duty service members and veterans choose firearms, a very lethal method of suicide. And so if we're not having this kind of conversation, we're essentially missing the bulk of people who are dying. More men choose firearms, but unfortunately, female service members and veterans are also now outpacing the women's civilians on that method as well. So they're also choosing firearms more often than women's civilians. So again, I'm excited to be here today and to help support this new movement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Next, I would like to introduce not only someone who who is a colleague on the suicide prevention and postvention work, but also a dear friend, Denise, Mina, if you would like to come forward.
I'm short. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Denise, Mina, and it's really good to be here. It's really good to be part of this Lifeside Ohio initiative. I'm here today as mom. I have a lot of titles, but today I'm mom. My son Dre is my pride and joy, still is my pride and joy, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him and about his life, because his life is so much more than how he died, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm passionate about this LSO program. So Dre grew up here in Central Ohio, and he was a connector of friends. He knew a lot of people. He liked to bring people together. And he was just a really fun guy. He was ornery, he laughed, he was just a fun guy, and I think he enjoyed being the center of attention. He graduated high school in 2012, May of 2012, and then in July of 2012 he turned 19, and on August 8th of 2012 he took his life, and he did use a firearm. There are no words to describe that, so I'm not even going to attempt to. But life has been very difficult since that time. I was the founder of an organization called Lost Community Services. LOST stands for Local Outreach to Suicide Survivors, and we support people that have lost somebody to suicide because it's a very isolating, horrific grief. Lifeside Ohio, I'm really excited about this. So we started doing some stuff locally at Lost Community Services, I don't know, 2018, I guess. It's been a few years now. And we had a little bit of traction, a little bit of momentum, and then it really took off. So we are thrilled to be part of Lifeside Ohio. And what I envision is having people that look like firearm owners asking the question if they feel they need to, are you having suicidal thoughts? We need somebody that looks like them to interact with them. It doesn't always have to be a mental health professional. It can be each of us. We can all play a role in preventing suicide, and that's what's most exciting about this to me. So thank you, everybody, for being here.
I'm also pleased, and this is where it really, to me, gets really exciting to not only work with everyone up here, but to have the firearm retailers and trainers, instructors come to the table and say, we want the same as everyone else. No one wants to feel the loss of suicide. And it is really, I'm really excited to bring Mark Leach, where are you at? There you are, to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate the people on the left, the people on the right, but especially the audience. We need to talk. We need to talk to each other. We need to listen. When someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to talk to you. Hey, buy them a cup of coffee. Sit them down. Take a walk. Do what you need to do, but listen. Listen to them. Let them tell you what you need. As a firearms owner, you have a great responsibility, but as a person, it's even greater. Just talk. That's all we want to ask you to do. All you want to do is just share. Share your good experiences, share your bad ones, and let us get through this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. From LAPD Firearms, which is here in Franklin County, Eric Gilbert.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Gilbert. I'm with LAPD Firearms and Range. I'm also an active law enforcement officer right here in Central Ohio. And I'm also fortunate enough to be a part of a live radio show that we do every week at our store. And the show focuses mostly on the firearms industry, but oftentimes the topic starts to go down the path of crime in our streets and what we're all seeing on our nightly TV stations. The stories, though, of our men and women in law enforcement that they're seeing there every day, us retailers around the table, we know that there's more to that story. And if you take a look and you look at the number of suicides or the number of deaths attributed to firearms each year, 60% of those, consistently for the last 10 years, were done with a firearm. 60%. And that's something that we see in the retail side of things, and that's something that our men and women in law enforcement, they see every day out there, regardless of if the cameras are running or not. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is an educational company that kind of governs and looks over the retail industry, and stores such as myself and my colleagues, Joe from Blackwing and Mark from Vance's, we know these facts all too well. And we know that we can do something to make a difference. And that's why all of us, for a number of years, have taken those steps to train our employees, to train those employees to know, to identify when someone's in a mental health crisis, or when they give us signs that might be something to believe that they're going to hurt themselves. And we've had those things in place. But like anything else, we can do better. We can do better in the communication between us. We can do better in helping educate our employees. And we can do better in helping bridge the gap between retailers such as ourselves and law enforcement. There's always room for improvement there to make that better. And with all of us coming together, we can impact change. We can change how the outcome is right here in our own community. That's the exciting part about it, is there's things that we can do. Our commitment to helping those in need doesn't span, it spans across all political spectrums. There's no contentious debate around it. It doesn't matter what ethnicity or gender or race you may be, and it doesn't matter if you walk into LAPD, Vance's, or Blackwing. It's something that we can all get behind and affect change. We're passionate about that. We're passionate about safe, responsible ownership of firearms. And with that, we commit to this program. We're very fortunate to be a part of Lifeside Ohio, and this isn't something that we all sat around and checked the box that we're going to do one thing on one day. This is a commitment ongoing, not just something that we did something just to say we did something. So we are here to show our commitment to it, and we look forward to many years of partnership with our colleagues around here.
Thank you, Eric. And then we had the privilege at Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation to have our staff be trained at Blackwing Firearms in Delaware, and we were so grateful for that training, and it helped us gain an understanding about the ways that you were teaching folks how to be safe with firearms. So, I want to publicly thank you for that training, and welcome Joe King to the podium.
I do appreciate that. Thank you for the opportunity. Joe is my name. I'm from Blackwing Shooting Center in Delaware, Ohio. And as Eric so eloquently, took a lot of my talking points and things I wanted to share, because he's just very good at this. I guess I just want to share a quick story with you, because what I'm about to tell you echoes everything he had to say. We do spend quite a bit of time talking with our employees, training our employees, empowering them to do the right things. When you come into our store, you're going to get great service. You're going to be asked questions. How's it going? What are you looking for? There's purpose behind those questions that aren't just service. And my story is simple. I had a beautiful young lady come in, and she was interested in using the range. Hey, what brought you in today? And she told a quick story. I don't want to get into too many details here. But my guy instantly realized there was a red flag. Something didn't feel right. So he was empowered, and he knew he had the opportunity to do the right thing. So he literally spent 1 hour of Blackwing's time with this beautiful young lady, talking through it. What brought you in? What's going on? And after 1 hour, and they got off to a separate room, she admitted she came, to this range to commit suicide. And it felt so great to know that a range and retailer, and my peers can answer the same thing. We share these stories, but I'm 100% sure the opportunity we provide for our staff, literally saved a life. And I continue to look forward to do these things. I continue to look forward to learn and be able to pass on some information and help some of the other range and retailers that may not be quite as trained and as committed as my peers and I are here. But I really do look forward to the opportunity. I really do appreciate it, and I promise you we're in it with you guys as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Another person I'm privileged enough to call a friend is Michelle Vargas, who is the director of the Franklin County Suicide Prevention Coalition. And Michelle, welcome you to the podium.
Well, thank you so much. My name is Michelle Vargas. I'm director of the Franklin County Suicide Prevention Coalition at Mental Health America of Ohio, funded by the Alcohol, Drug, and Mental Health Board of Franklin County. And I'd like to thank the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation for spearheading this first of its kind Lifeside Ohio campaign. Along with all of our partners on stage with us today, they come from various sectors from across our county and across our state, in unison coming together to support suicide prevention amongst the firearms community. And I've had the opportunity to partner with local law enforcement, firearm retailers, and veterans on local suicide prevention initiatives. And I'm so grateful to them for sharing their perspectives and expertise with me, as I've learned so much from them. We have so many suicide prevention champions throughout our community, and I'm so inspired by them. Our community is still in an unpredictable time. We've struggled the past few years with some unprecedented challenges. And we know that some of our neighbors are experiencing feelings of hopelessness and helplessness. And we want you to know that if you are experiencing that, then you are not alone. And help is available. Recovery is possible. And you have a community here that wants to work with you to help you achieve your goals. The first step might just be acknowledging that it may be time to reach out for help. And that's the message of Lifeside Ohio. We are in this together.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm also very honored to have from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Rick Minard.
First of all, thanks for inviting me here to this event. Such a great honor to be here. I'd like to thank the foundation. And historically in my career, law enforcement, this is a little confessional, would show up in the aftermath when lives are shattered, and we would come and conduct the investigation or what have you. But in the last 5 years, things have changed. We're getting better. For so many years, there's been an emphasis on line-of-duty deaths among law enforcement. But the reality is that more cops lose their life to suicide than any other method. And so we know that suicide is a leading cause of death for first responders. And unfortunately, in my 31-year career, I've seen that as a reality. The good part, though, is that we're doing better. And I had the opportunity, we were talking before we started the event here. I had the opportunity a few years ago, it was about 5 years ago or so. I got to meet Denise and her organization, LOSS, and hear the great work they were doing. And when I got to meet with her, the little self-reflection on what can we do in the area of prevention. And so some of the things that we have launched since our meeting, and then I've also had the opportunity to partner with Michelle and the Franklin County Suicide Prevention Coalition here in Franklin County. But our office is, because we handle CCW permits, or people who have a license to get a firearm. And so in the area of prevention, we provide these pamphlets, suicide prevention pamphlets, and do you have your buddies back? And so there's some prevention advice on here on what to say, what to do, what to look for, and things like that. Our detectives, when they do respond out to an unfortunate situation, there's a family left behind that's grieving, and so they're left lost. What kind of resources are available? And so our detectives pass out information to link the families up with resources as they try to pick up the pieces and move forward. Our office has also put a great emphasis on mental health in the last 5 years, obviously with the new construction of our jail. But one program that I'm very proud of is people, because I'm the chief of the Criminal Investigations Division, I have people that see some pretty nasty stuff every day, and so that takes a toll on them. And so every year, it's mandated to take that stigma away. It's mandated that they go to a group session with their peers and talk to a mental health professional, but then also have a one-on-one. And it's not negotiable. They have to go in order to hold one of those coveted positions. And so all of that is really was born from really the meeting with Denise. And so I'm so happy to be here. And on behalf of Sheriff Dallas Baldwin, I'm excited to be a part of this campaign moving forward and learn more and what we can do in the area of prevention. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Deputy Minard. We are so proud to be partnering with law enforcement on this issue. Law enforcement is very often the front line of defense around, especially when someone's experiencing mental health crisis, and that's no easy task. So I would like to invite to the podium Captain Adam Moore from the Delaware City Police Department.
I'd like to offer just a couple quick thoughts regarding suicide. And the first is I want to thank the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation for having me here today and for all of these folks standing here. When I was growing up, if I think back, there's been several folks in my life that I have lost to suicide, but in my younger years, it was one of those topics that people would say, we don't talk about that. And that's why I'm so thankful for the foundation and these folks, because we are here in public talking about an issue that we need to address, and the only way to do that is to have conversations in public, face to face. The second thought that I'd like to offer is, as a public servant, one of our obligations is to increase the quality of life in our communities, and that's for folks that are struggling, and as we've mentioned with first responders, for our own people at our agencies. And one of the ways that you do that is agencies and departments don't do things. People do things. And it really comes down to relationships. And so the final comment I would make is when you have responsible gun owners and veterans and law enforcement and all these folks behind me come together and build relationships, I am not sure what we're going to accomplish, but we're going to accomplish something great. So thank you very much.
And we also have Officer Audrey Wilt from the Powell Police Department joining us today. Officer Wilt.
Thank you so much for having me. This is obviously something that means a lot to me professionally. It's something that first responders, like we've kind of said, deal with every day. We're all strong people to be in this profession. We're viewed as strong people. To add some personal insight here, my aunt committed suicide in 2017 with a firearm. She was a very strong woman. I think that we still are getting out of the stigma of people thinking that asking for help is a weakness. And I guess that's my main message today to anyone who is struggling. Please ask for help. You're strong, and it is a sign of strength to ask for help. And I look forward to helping prevent more suicides with firearms. Thank you.
We also really are proud that we're partnering with veterans around the state. Dr. Baker mentioned that veterans have higher rates of suicide than civilian individuals, and just would so proud to be working with the veteran community. Stephen Yarger is here to talk about being a partner in this.
Thank you. I can't really come up with the words to say thank you to everyone here. When I got out of the military, it felt like I was lost, like I lost everything. By the time I went and got help, I had lost 16 of my brothers to exactly this. Because nobody came up and said, you know, who are you? What's good for you? What do you need? We all kept getting looked at like we were just another face in the crowd, like we were a statistic, like the guns were bad, and we were just going to be another number added to the list. And then finally somebody came up to me and said, you know, are you okay? What's going on with you? And they started looking at me as Steve, instead of, you know, veteran number 4 that got out of the military that came through whatever today. All the law enforcement, all the first responders, everybody here that's talking about having that conversation and talking to your community and coming up to you and finding out who you are and what's going on with you, I can promise you that'll change the world. Thank you.
We also have a good friend of mine. He works at the Summit County Suicide Prevention Coalition. He also is a hunter and a gun enthusiast, and we are so happy to have Daniel Bennett come down and share with why he's part of this campaign.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Bennett. I work for Greenleaf Family Center in Akron, and I serve on the Summit County Suicide Prevention Coalition. And I'm really grateful to be here today to participate in the launch of Lifeside Ohio. This campaign really resonates with me, and in a lot of ways I kind of feel like it mirrors a lot of my own life. I have worked for the last 11 years in suicide prevention, providing outreach and school presentations and gatekeeper trainings throughout our communities. We work with thousands of individuals a year. And when I first started in this field, I didn't really know a lot about prevention or a lot about suicide. It was really kind of a brand new topic for me. And I learned very quickly, like a lot of people up here have talked about, it's difficult to have those conversations. It can be intimidating to talk to somebody about suicide. And it's because we're worried we're going to say the wrong thing or we're going to offend somebody. So people just don't say anything at all. But we know having those conversations can be the key to connecting people with the resources they need. Along with working in suicide prevention, I'm also a firearms owner, an avid outdoorsman, and a hunter. I learned how to shoot and hunt and handle firearms safely from my father and my grandfather. I've been through hunter's education classes and gun safety training in the past, and I'm currently teaching my own kids how to hunt and shoot safely. And as a father, like most dads, my number one priority is my kids' safety. I want to make sure they're doing okay. And I've seen the danger, both professionally and personally, that firearms can pose if they're not handled or stored in a safe manner. But I've also seen how firearms can bring families together, and how traditions like hunting can really link my kids to the generations of our family before them. When we talk about prevention, there are some basic steps that we can take that can really go a long way towards preventing deaths. Things like locks or safe storage, having honest conversations with the people around us, and having access to behavioral health care can go a long way from somebody having a tragic loss to maybe a family that's got a lifetime legacy in the outdoors. So we know that there are the small changes we can make. When it comes to suicide prevention training, I've never sat through a class that taught me how to talk to firearms owners about lethal means and about how to store firearms safely. And in all the classes I've taken on firearm safety, we've never learned suicide warning signs or talked about how to connect people with the resources that are out there. Those are simple changes we can make, again, that can save lives. As we've been kind of developing the Lifeside Ohio campaign, I keep hearing from people how unique it is to find somebody like me, a person who's both passionate about suicide prevention and somebody who's also a firearms owner. And I think you can look back and forth across the panel up here and see that's not true. There are plenty of people who are passionate about safety, suicide prevention, and are also firearms owners, or work in areas that firearms are part of their daily life. The truth is that firearms owners, safety is one of our number one priorities. We want to be able to protect our families or shoot or hunt in as safe a way as possible. But for a long time, we may not have felt like we had access to the conversation around suicide prevention. And people working in suicide prevention may not have felt like they knew how to engage us or knew how to even start the conversation or what to talk about. Lifeside Ohio changes that. It gives us the opportunity to bring everyone to the table and gives firearms owners a voice in suicide prevention for the first time. In the prevention field, we have a saying, nothing about us without us. We can't expect anything to change if we don't bring to the table the people who are most affected. And if we want to have lasting change and a reduction in deaths, we have to have firearms owners as part of that conversation. A lot of people talked about the statistics today around firearms and suicide. I'm not going to focus on those. I really want to focus today on the opportunity we have with Lifeside Ohio to make those changes. OSPF and their partners have brought together retailers, veterans, law enforcement, and hunters in a way that I've never seen in my 11-year career in suicide prevention. This is a real opportunity to make changes. And I know that this campaign will save lives. And that's why, as a firearms owner, I'm proud to be a part of Lifeside Ohio and proud to be part of that community united for life. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Daniel. I know we've got quite a crowd. Anyone else want to come up and say anything at all? Okay, so welcome any questions that anyone might have. I love this press conference when you got no questions. We explained it so well. Oh, you? Huh?
On Facebook Live, Jordy Gray is asking, how can gun stores get training for their employees to help recognize someone who is suicidal and perhaps try to dissuade them from purchasing?
Well, I think that was something that you had, if you want to address that question.
So, the National Shooting Sports Foundation is a national organization that helps retailers not only with suicide prevention but with all aspects of owning a store. And they do a very, very good job on helping educate us and pushing that information down to our employees through whether it's be a range of videos, through brochures we put out, and so they're very active in that space. And I know we lean on them quite a bit for a lot of that material.
And I would also add to connect with your local suicide prevention coalition to check on gatekeeper trainings like Question, Persuade, and Refer that are available, typically free, that can also address those issues.
Any other questions? I want to wrap this up by thanking Krista Page from the Columbus VA. She did a wonderful podcast with us that will be on that is on the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation page about this very topic. So again, thank you so much for coming, and I want to thank everyone for just being such a key partner in this campaign, and that we're going to continue this and really make sure that this conversation will never ever be something that we're scared to have again. So thank you so much.